same darkness, same feeling of standing next to that crib completely helpless, doing everything you know how to do and watching none of it work. You have tried the white noise. You have tried the feeding schedule. You have tried the swaddle, the pacifier, the darkened room, the gentle shushing that somehow ends up lasting longer than the nap itself. And still, your baby cries. So here is the question that nobody around you seems to be able to answer. What are you actually missing? Because you are not missing effort. You are not missing love. You are not missing commitment to your child. What you are missing is an understanding of what is actually happening inside your baby's brain at bedtime. And once you see it, once you really understand what your baby is going through every single night, the crying will finally start to make sense. And more importantly, you will know exactly what to do about it. Here is something that nobody tells you in the hospital or the parenting books or the well-meaning advice from everyone around you. Your baby is not broken. They are not a bad sleeper. They are not manipulating you. They are not testing your patience on purpose. Their nervous system is asking one single question at bedtime. Every single night, over and over again, until it gets a clear enough answer to finally let go. That question is this: is it safe to become unconscious right now? Think about what sleep actually is for a moment. For an adult, sleep is rest. We close our eyes and drift off, and we have years of experience telling us that the world will still be there when we wake up. But for a baby, especially a young baby, sleep is something completely different. Sleep means losing awareness, losing contact, losing the ability to signal for help. For a nervous system that is still brand new, still learning what the world is and whether it can be trusted, that is not a small thing. That is terrifying. And until your baby's nervous system gets a clear and convincing answer to that one question, is it safe right now? It will keep sending the only signal it knows how to send. It will cry. Now here is where Japan comes in. Japanese parents have been answering that bedtime question, quietly, consistently, through a specific sequence of steps, for generations, not because they read about nervous system science, but because their culture preserved something that most of Western parenting quietly abandoned: a ritual. A real one, not a routine in the calendar and schedule sense, but a sequence of specific signals, physical, emotional, sensory, that walk a baby's nervous system from the alertness of the day to the safety of sleep, one deliberate step at a time. There are 5 steps in this sequence, and the research behind each one of them will change the way you think about every bedtime from here forward. Most Western parents skip all 5. Not because they are careless, but because nobody ever told them these steps existed or why they matter as much as they do. Let's go through them one by one. But first, let's understand what is actually happening in your baby's brain as bedtime approaches. Because without this, the 5 steps won't make the kind of sense they need to make. A baby's brain is not a smaller version of an adult brain. It is a fundamentally different operating system, and one of the biggest differences is in how it handles transitions. Adults move from wakefulness to sleep along a relatively smooth path. Our brains have done it thousands of times. We have built associations. Darkness means sleep. This pillow means rest. This level of quiet means it is time to go. And those associations make the transition automatic. A baby has none of that. Every transition into sleep is neurologically new. And because their stress response system, the part of the brain that monitors for danger, is highly active and not yet well regulated, the transition to sleep triggers a genuine alert. Cortisol rises. Heart rate increases. The brain fires a warning. Something is changing. I don't know what comes next. Is this safe? Researchers studying infant sleep have found that the period just before sleep, what they call the sleep-wake threshold, is the most neurologically vulnerable moment in a baby's entire day. It is the moment when the need for felt safety is at its absolute highest, and it is the moment that most Western bedtime routines are completely unprepared for. If you have never heard any of this before and it is already changing how you think about your baby's nights, this channel is exactly where you need to be. We break down the real science behind infant behavior every single week, in plain language, without the judgment. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next, because what we are about to get into is the part most parents never hear. The skipped step 1, the wind down window. The first thing Japanese parenting culture gets right about bedtime is something so simple that it sounds almost too obvious to matter. They start early, not just a little early, significantly earlier than most Western families begin thinking about sleep. In many Japanese households, the wind-down process for a young baby begins up to 90 minutes before the actual moment of sleep. And during that window, something very specific happens. Stimulation stops. Lights are lowered. Voices become quieter and slower. Activity becomes gentle and repetitive. The environment begins to change in a way that the baby's nervous system can read as a clear signal. The day is ending. Something different is coming. Begin to slow down. Most Western bedtime routines start too late and too stimulated. The baby goes from a brightly lit, noisy, active environment to suddenly being expected to sleep, with maybe a quick feed and a song in between. And the nervous system, which had no preparation, no runway, no warning that a transition was coming, responds the only way it can. It resists. The wind-down window is not about doing more before bed. It is about doing less. Deliberately, consistently, until the baby's brain begins to recognize the pattern and starts preparing for sleep before it even arrives. The skipped step 2. Hadaka no Tsukiai, skin contact as a nervous system signal. There is a concept in Japanese culture called Hadaka no Tsukiai. It literally translates to something close to naked friendship, or the intimacy of skin. In the context of Japanese parenting, it refers to the deep and intentional practice of skin-to-skin contact between a parent and baby as a bonding and regulating experience, not incidental contact. Deliberate, unhurried, warm physical closeness that sends a very specific message to the baby's nervous system. You are not alone. I am here. My body is proof. Research on skin-to-skin contact in infants is some of the most consistent in all of child development science. Skin contact lowers cortisol. It raises oxytocin, the bonding hormone, in both the parent and the baby simultaneously. It regulates heart rate and breathing. It literally calms the stress response system from the outside in. Japanese parents incorporate this kind of contact naturally into the bedtime sequence. The holding is not rushed. The closeness is not something to be moved past quickly on the way to putting the baby down. It is the point. In much of Western bedtime culture, physical contact is a step on the way to the crib. In Japanese bedtime culture, it is the signal that makes the crib possible. Your baby cannot feel safe in a space until they have first felt safe in your arms. That order matters. And most Western routines get it backwards. The skipped step 3, the ofuro ritual, warm water as a cortisol reset. In Japan, the evening bath, called the ofuro, is one of the most culturally significant parts of the day, for adults and children alike. It is not a quick hygiene task. It is a ritual, a deliberate transition, a way of washing off the day and preparing the body and mind for rest. For babies, the ofuro serves a specific neurological function. Warm water immersion triggers a drop in cortisol. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the part of the body responsible for rest, digestion, and calm. It raises the body's core temperature slightly and then allows it to drop as the baby is lifted out and dried. And that temperature drop is one of the body's primary biological signals that sleep time is approaching. Japanese parents understand the afuro as preparation, as a reset, as the body's way of being told, in a language it understands before words, that the night is here and it is safe to soften. A quick note that matters: when bathing a young baby, water temperature should always be warm, but never hot. Around body temperature is the right guide. The goal is soothing, never stimulating or uncomfortable. Most Western families who do bathe babies before bed treat it as one item on a checklist. In and out. Efficient. And then straight into the feed and the sleep attempt. What gets missed is the transition function. The bath is not just cleaning, it is telling the nervous system something. And if it is rushed, that message never lands. The skipped step 4, voice and silence, walking babies into sleep with sound. Japanese mothers have a long tradition of using voice, specifically a very particular kind of voice, as a tool for walking babies across the sleep threshold. Not singing in the energetic, engaging way that stimulates and entertains. Not talking in the warm, conversational way that invites interaction and response. Something quieter, more repetitive, more monotone than it might feel natural to use. A low, slow, rhythmic sound. Almost like breathing that has been turned into a hum. Consistent enough to become a pattern. Predictable enough to stop being interesting. Gentle enough to feel like safety rather than stimulation. What this does to the baby's nervous system is specific and measurable. A predictable, repetitive auditory signal tells the brain that nothing new is happening. Nothing requires attention. Nothing needs to be tracked or processed or responded to. And a brain that has nothing new to process begins, slowly, gradually, to let go. The mistake many Western parents make with sound at bedtime is keeping it too interesting. A lullaby with verses and choruses. A story with characters and events. A conversation with questions and responses. All of these things, however loving and well-intentioned, are asking the baby's brain to stay engaged, to keep processing, to remain present. The Japanese approach to bedtime sound asks the opposite. It says, there is nothing here that needs your attention. You can leave. You can go to sleep. I will still be here when you come back. The skipped step 5, staying present at the threshold. This is the step that most Western parents not only skip, but actively avoid, because it is the one that costs the most time. And when you are exhausted, time feels like the one thing you cannot afford. In Japanese parenting culture, a parent does not leave the room until the baby has crossed the sleep threshold, until the breathing has changed, until the body has softened, until sleep has actually arrived, not just approached. The parent stays present, calm, close, not interacting, not stimulating, just there, a warm and breathing proof that the world is still safe and the person the baby loves most has not disappeared. Because here is what happens in a baby's nervous system in those final moments before sleep arrives. The brain makes one last check. Is anyone there? Am I alone? Is it safe to let go? When the answer is yes, when the physical presence of a safe person is still there at that final moment, the nervous system gets the answer it needs, and it releases into sleep. When the answer is an empty room, when the parent has already left because the baby seemed almost asleep, the nervous system fires the alarm all over again. And the crying starts. Most Western parents put their baby down drowsy but awake, a phrase that appears in almost every mainstream sleep advice resource, and leave the room before sleep has actually arrived, and then wonder why the crying starts again 30 seconds later. The baby was not almost asleep. They were almost safe. And then the safety left. Here is what the typical Western bedtime routine is actually communicating to a baby's nervous system when you read it through the lens of everything we have just talked about. A rushed transition from stimulation to sleep expectation tells the nervous system, no runway, no warning, figure it out. Skipping or rushing skin contact says, the closeness part is over. Now perform sleep. A quick, efficient bath says, this is hygiene, not ritual. Nothing about your body is being prepared for anything. Engaging sound says, stay present, stay processing, stay awake. Leaving before sleep arrives says, you are alone now. The safe person is gone. Answer the question yourself. And then the crying starts. And the parent comes back. And the cycle repeats. Not because the baby is difficult, but because the nervous system never got a convincing answer to its one bedtime question. But hear this clearly before we go any further. You did not know this. Nobody told you. The advice you were given about infant sleep was almost entirely focused on schedules, methods, and techniques. It was not focused on the nervous system. It was not focused on what bedtime actually is for a baby at a biological level. You were handed tools without being given the understanding that makes tools work. That is not a parenting failure. That is a gap in what our culture passes down to new parents. You were not skipping these steps because you were careless. You were skipping them because nobody showed them to you. Tonight can be different. Not because you are going to try harder, but because you now understand what you are actually trying to do. And now the part where people are going to disagree, sometimes loudly. Because if you take everything we have talked about today to its logical conclusion, it sounds like it is arguing against sleep training, against the cry it out method, against the entire framework of teaching babies to fall asleep independently. And that debate, in parenting culture, is one of the most heated that exists. One side says that sleep training works, that the research supports it, that a baby who learns to fall asleep independently sleeps better, longer, and more consistently, and that a parent who sleeps is a better parent. The other side says that leaving a baby to cry alone at the sleep threshold floods their nervous system with cortisol at the most neurologically vulnerable moment of their day. That what looks like a baby learning to self-settle is sometimes a baby learning that calling for help produces no response, and going quiet because the system gave up, not because it felt safe. The honest answer, as always, sits somewhere between the two. There is a meaningful difference between a baby who cries briefly during a transition and then settles, and a baby whose stress response is chronically activated at bedtime. The research on this is genuinely mixed and genuinely contested. What is not contested is the neuroscience of felt safety. What is not contested is that a nervous system that feels safe at the sleep threshold has a fundamentally easier time crossing it. How you create that felt safety in your home? That is your decision. But understanding that it needs to exist is not optional. There is a term that sleep researchers use for the moment just before a baby crosses into sleep. They call it the sleep-wake threshold. And what the research shows is that this threshold is not crossed by exhaustion alone. It is not crossed by darkness or white noise or the right temperature in the room. It is crossed by felt safety. A baby's nervous system will resist sleep actively, powerfully, loudly, for as long as it needs to in order to get a convincing answer to its one question. And it will cross into sleep the moment that answer arrives clearly enough. The Japanese bedtime routine is not a collection of nice cultural practices. It is a sequence of felt safety signals delivered in the right order, at the right pace, with the right kind of presence that answers the question so completely and so consistently that the baby's nervous system finally has no reason left to resist. Wind down the environment. Provide skin contact. Use the bath as a reset. Use sound as a release. Stay until the crossing happens. 5 steps. 1 answer every night. If tonight feels different after watching this, if you are looking at bedtime with completely new eyes, then share this with another parent who is running on empty right now. And if you want to keep understanding your baby at this level, hit subscribe, because this is exactly what we do here every single week. The 5-step Japanese bedtime sequence. Here is how to bring this into your home tonight. Simplified, practical, adaptable to any family. Step 1. Begin the wind down 60 to 90 minutes before sleep. Lower the lights in whatever room your baby is in. Reduce noise. Slow your own movements and voice down deliberately. Let the environment begin to change before anything else happens. Give the nervous system a runway. Step 2. Make skin contact intentional. Before the bath, during the hold after the bath, during the feed, make the closeness unhurried. Let your baby feel the weight and warmth of your body without rushing to the next step. This is not wasted time. This is the signal that makes everything else work. Step 3. Use a warm bath as a transition ritual. Not a quick wash. A slow, warm, calm experience. Talk quietly or say nothing. Let the water do its work on the nervous system. Warm, not hot. Calm, not playful. And take your time drying and dressing afterward. That post-bath window is when the cortisol drop is deepest. Step 4. Use your voice as a release, not an engagement. Low. Slow. Repetitive. A hum or a gentle sound that stays the same rather than changing and developing. Something that tells the brain, there is nothing new here. You can stop listening. You can let go. Step 5. Stay until sleep actually arrives. This is the hardest one, but it is the most important. Do not leave when the baby seems almost asleep. Wait until the breathing changes, until the body is fully heavy, until the crossing has happened. Then, slowly, quietly, you can go. You are not a parent who cannot get their baby to sleep. You are a parent who was never shown what sleep actually needs. Those are completely different things, and the distance between them is not months of sleep training or weeks of crying it out. It is understanding. The kind of understanding that changes what you do tonight without requiring you to become a different person or follow a perfect method. You already have everything your baby needs to feel safe at bedtime. Your warmth, your voice, your presence, your calm. You just needed to know how to use them in the right order. There is a moment, if you have ever experienced it, that is unlike almost anything else in early parenthood. The moment your baby finally lets go into sleep in your arms, the breathing slows and deepens, the tiny hands relax, the body goes heavy and soft and completely trusting, and for a moment, the whole world goes quiet. That moment is not random. It is not luck. It is not your baby finally giving up after enough crying. That moment is a decision made somewhere deep inside a nervous system that has been running its question all evening and has finally received an answer it believes. You are safe. I am here. You can let go now. Every part of the Japanese bedtime routine exists to deliver that answer, clearly, consistently, in a language that needs no words, because it speaks directly to the body. And when your baby makes that decision, when they choose to cross into sleep because you made it safe enough to cross, you are not just ending a difficult night. You are building something. A pattern in their nervous system that says, bedtime is safe, sleep is safe, the world is safe, and the person I love most will still be there when I come back. That pattern does not stay in the nursery. It follows them into every room they will ever walk into, every relationship they will ever build, every moment of uncertainty they will ever face. It becomes part of who they are. And you built it. One quiet night at a time. If this video gave you something real tonight, a new way of seeing your baby, a new way of approaching the hardest hours, then you are exactly who this channel exists for. Subscribe so you never miss what we put out next, because your baby is communicating with you every single day in ways that go far deeper than most people ever get to understand. and we are here to help you hear every word.